Hey guys, welcome back. Unpopular opinions in Pokemon. What is this? Number 22? Man, what a thread. Sakari created it, by the way. If you didn't hear in the previous episodes, he has a YouTube as well. Check it out. It's in the description, as always, on these videos. Credit to him for coming up with such a good idea for a thread that seems to never die. Started off here with AJ84, who says, the Fossil Hollow set most is so god-awful. I disagree. I don't think Fossil is any worse than the Hollow sets around it. I mean, back in that time, there wasn't a whole lot of effort or thought put into the backgrounds. It was more the Pokemon itself. And I think Fossil was fine. Maybe you just don't like the Pokemon selection. I'm not sure what your reasoning is. But I definitely disagree, and I guess that would be a great unpopular opinion for that reason. Quachancy says, I'm glad I grew up in a Pokemon time where no one graded cards, and the idea of immediately checking an awesome pull for centering issues or print lines would be considered bizarre. I agree. And that's pretty much the way that I still like to collect or open. I mean, if it's to a certain extent that the card is demonstrated to the pack, it's a little bit disappointing. But at the same time, I'm not like, oh, is this going to get a 9 or a 10? Who cares? Unless you're trying to resell it. Or if grading's really your thing and you really need the 9 or the 10, then by all means, keep opening. It'd be pretty hard in this day and age with the quality of cards. I see a lot of flip-flop back and forth with people that are like, oh yeah, it should be hard to grade. It should be hard to pull. But then at the same time, they open cards and there's print lines all over them, or they're poorly centered, or they're poorly cut. And then they complain about that. So maybe not always the same people that are complaining about both sides, but there's complaints either way. Doesn't matter. Too easy to get, too hard to get, too hard to complete. You can't make everyone happy, and hopefully they find a decent balance. I think maybe the set size is too big now. Maybe the print quality could be a little bit better. But they're probably pumping this stuff out as fast as possible. And weird things happening with the Japanese sets getting larger, which isn't so bad. But when you start combining multiple of those sets into the English one, you end up with a monster of a Fusion Strike. EV Team says, starting in 2022 tax year, any account, PayPal, eBay, etc. that sells 600 or more will get a 1099 tax form. My opinion, we will see a massive supply dump of products and singles in late 2021 from people that aren't in it for the long haul, thus creating a short-term market crash. Well, I mean, this is more of a predict the future kind of thing, but I don't think that happened, at least not to a noticeable level. From what I've seen. If anyone else thinks otherwise or has seen otherwise, feel free to bring it up. But I feel like the people that are worried about the $600 are probably not selling that much stuff. And I think there's a follow-up to this. So here's expanding on the 1099 tax form comment. I wasn't talking about high-end cards / products being sold off in late 2021. Only items or cards that people were selling to make a quick buck on. We'll see people stop buying ETBs from Walmart for $50 to sell online for $60 to $100, because do that 10 times and you're now getting a $10.99. I was suggesting that people that are holding on to a little bit of product will sell off quickly in November, December to get ahead of this. It won't be a long-term impact, but you will see prices on modern product and singles dip hard at the end of 2021. Quote me in January 2022 if I am wrong. So, I mean, stuff is dropping, but I think that's more to do, especially the sealed stuff, with the recent wave of reprints, and with the supply up, and probably a lot of people that are leaving the hobby. Maybe some of those that were temporarily interested or only in it for the money, for the quick flips, especially on the modern product. I try to tell everyone, don't worry about it. If you're in the Pokemon game for the long term, modern product selling out of Walmart, people filling cards is not something that's going to last forever. They're going to print more. They have printed more. And just the general interest. And when the money isn't there, those people are not going to be around. So, as predicted, I think most of those people are gone now. We'll see how Brilliant Stars does, because 5 Charizard sets, so there might be a little bit of a shortage off the get-go, but they'll have additional waves. It's modern, it's standard format. Pokemon's going to make sure there's enough of it for everyone, especially the players. And yeah, it seems like the printers are going in full force, so nothing to be concerned about. Do not panic buy any of this new stuff that's coming out. More of it will come. If it's that overpriced and that sold out, don't pay over market price unless you desperately need to open it this second and you don't care about money. Collector, unless you buy 12 out of 12 heavy packs from one box, loose heavies should not carry the same premium as heavies you get when you buy a box. I don't know. I mean, you can say that, but at the same time, like, does it really make it any less likely? So if you had a base set box, does it make it any less likely to end up getting multiple Charizards, a second Charizard? We've seen it with Poliwraths, where there's just Poliwraths and Poliwraths and Poliwraths. So I don't know. I guess maybe it makes it slightly less likely to get the same Pokemon again, but at the same time, maybe you want to pay an extra premium to get all 12 of them. Probably not if it's a box that really matters. If it's a base set or something like that, you're probably not buying all 12. I wouldn't think, but I don't know what kind of scenarios you get into. If that's the case and you want to pay extra to get all 12 to make sure that you don't miss out on a pull. I mean, all 12 could not have the Charizard as well. You could have Poliwraths for days. All right. Nycor123 says, PSA, EQ, HQ when? Because new EU import taxes are making me freak the hell out. So it's weird. I don't know how. I mean, even before this recent influx of grading and stuff like that, and that might have slowed down the process if they did have that in mind. It's weird to me that PSA doesn't have their own EU headquarters, even if they were shipping everything over. As we've seen with some of the middleman services, maybe not the best plan of attack, where they're putting too much out of their own control, and shenanigans can happen that way. Especially with the Marks cards stuff, where it seems like they just took off with everyone's money. So I don't know why they don't just have a little depot, even if they had a small office where you could send stuff in and then everything would get transported over to the people who grade it. Beats me. I would think that if it was worth it for them, they would do it. But maybe now with the Marks cards thing, where they're running into issues with these middlemen companies, maybe that's something they need to consider and keep that control and that reputation under their own guidance and abilities. So it would seem at that point, if you had a small office, maybe you would just expand and have an actual PSA Europe, and everyone that's over there in the European countries can send it there instead of all the way across to the US. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen someday. I would think it would be a good decision, but that's my call, not theirs. If it was super profitable, free tendies for them, I'm sure they would have done it by now. There's a lot of work that would have to go into it, but there's definitely money to be made there, especially pre-Pandy had they set up. Niche says CP5 was the best Japanese set Pokemon has ever made. I don't know if I'd agree with that, but it is cool. It's like a 20th anniversary set, and it had a lot of the mythical full arts in it, I believe. I'm not very well versed on the Japanese sets compared to the English sets. I usually have a general idea of what they're called and what was in them, but that's about it. I try not to spend too much energy. Even like starting out, coming back into the hobby, it would be tough to learn all the names of the English sets and the symbols. So I can only imagine trying to learn the Japanese and the English and be able to name them all off according to set symbol, or, you know, if it's CP5 or whatever, and to just know what they are, all of them off by heart, would be absolutely insane. NMB Pokemon says, might catch some heat for this one, but when most people say I buy the card, not the grade, they really mean I am entitled to pay less for a card that I deem to be weaker than the other grade it received, but under no circumstances will I pay more for a card that is stronger than the grade it received. Oh, and the surprise Pikachu faces really come out when someone won't let go of a CGC 9 with two 9.5 subs, or even a CGC 9.5 for well below PSA 9 price. Surely someone so skilled at grading cards based only on PWCC scans would appreciate the condition is comparable or better, right? So, I don't know. Grading in general is not my thing. But if somebody wants a PSA 9 over a 9.5 CGC, if it matches their set, etc., maybe they want that. I know a lot of people don't like the 0.5 grades, don't like CGC cases, don't like labels, don't whatever. There's a lot of preference that goes into that. And, I mean, CGC is still fairly new in terms of grading the Pokemon card, Pokemon cards in general. So, could be a lot of that. People might think that the PSA 9 is going to hold value better, especially after the market returns to somewhat of a normal state. So that's up to you guys. I personally, I've seen 6s and 7s that are of 9 quality. And I mean, I would pay more for a 6 that looks like a 9 or a 7 that looks like a 9. But I'm going to crack it out of the case anyway, so the label really means nothing to me. As long as it's a card that I need and it's in good shape, I don't really care what the label says. Although, typically, what I'm looking for is going to be in around the 8 territory. So, not that it can't be a lower grade or a higher grade if it's the right price. But I think maybe my search is a little bit different than anyone else that's looking to actually keep the card in the case. Camg says, Gengar has the least appealing artwork of the Misaki cards. I don't know if that's the case. This is the Gengar. I kind of like the grid. A little bit of like Tron action going on. And I made sure to use this duo of pictures because I think the Alakazam is probably my favorite. I know the Golem is cool too. I don't know if I have a least favorite. But I'd say that the Alakazam is probably my absolute favorite. Very cool promos. Very cool that you had to mail in the pre-evolution. Sort of like you had to trade in the games. Very cool release. Jealous that English doesn't have more cool things like that. Promotions and such. Gashi says, since Gengar was last mentioned, I think the Dark Gengar from Neo Destiny looks ugly. I've heard a number of people say that they love that card and I just don't get it. No disrespect to Kasube, but that depiction of Gengar is just too abstract for me. I would disagree. I think this is probably one of my favorite. He's just really cool. He's different. He's cool. Although, I don't know. I like artwork that is a little bit different. And I like a variety that you can tell what artist it is even better. I don't know. What my favorite Gengar is probably the level X. It's the level X that has like the glowing eyes. Probably that. I should have had a picture ready of that, but use your imagination. Implode says, probably not that unpopular, but all the Prime cards are ugly. All the art just looks like this. So we get the super close-up cat. I would say that the Prime cards are not my favorite. But I do appreciate the fact that they were trying to do something different. I like Level X's a lot more than I like Prime cards. I think Level X is just a better version of a Prime, basically. But it's all a matter of opinion. Rip Guy Fox. I would say that most people don't like Primes. At least they used to not. I think until recent times when they went up in value a little bit. I remember buying Primes like dirt cheap. Like a few bucks on some of the cheaper ones. So, I don't know. People didn't like them then. I think now they're getting an appreciation for them. Maybe now that they're getting a little bit older and more expensive, people will give them the time of day. Rip Guy Fox says, any unlimited edition following a first edition is just a reprint. I mean, kind of. I would just say that it's part of the same print, but If that's how you want to put it, if that's how you want to look at it, then by all means. I'm not a reprint person, but in terms of different releases of the same set, with like a first edition, Shadowless, base, or even first and unlimited in the other sets, I don't know. I like to have both. I don't really have a preference for one over the other. I do understand and appreciate the fact that one is going to be more expensive than the other, and I understand why. But at the same time, I would never want to see a first edition stamp ever again on these, especially these modern sets that are too big. It would make such a mess, especially in the market that we're in or that we have been in. I can only imagine the people screaming scalper and everything else if there was first edition runs and they all got gathered up by bots and everything else, or the stores just holding on to them and charging an immense amount more than the unlimited version. So I think that higher rarity, harder to pull cards, and reverses sort of fill everything that we've ever desired in form of, another first edition stamp or any kind of indicator of premium. If that's the thing for you, maybe grab some MetaZoo and you can get a Kickstarter stamp and a first edition stamp and a MetaZoo backwards foily signature edition. I don't know. It's unnecessary. The sets are hard enough to complete as they are. They are very hard to complete. Niche says, I really genuinely enjoy the Sun and Moon set card holo pattern. Better than Galaxy, better than Sword and Shield vertical, better than Black and White horizontal. I think the individual card, the artwork, whether it works good with foil or not, is more important than what's going on in the actual foil portion. But maybe that's just me. There's some artworks where some of it's kind of like partial foil or full foil, and then the Pokemon itself is kind of like, it gives it a nice depth, sort of like depth of field or something going on, that as soon as you see it, it just works. That or anything underwater or in the sky with lightning and stuff, Zapdos, for example, always makes for a nice foil. Collector says, base set 2 over emerging powers, over hidden fates, over evolutions. So base set 2 and evolutions probably at the bottom of my list in terms of my favorite sets. I know a lot of people don't like emerging powers and stuff like that, but I think it's great. New cards over reprints is kind of my philosophy. I understand how certain people, or I would imagine a lot of people really like reprints, especially evolutions. People want to pull or open an affordable version of the base set, and I get that. But I don't know. I'd just rather see new cards. I'd rather, even if it was some variation of base set where at least the artwork was new, but it was like a throwback, something like that. Base set Charizard has been on so many cards at this point. Let them rest. Just let them rest. And we saw it again with the celebrations. So, all right. Collector says, I thought about another one. I have no idea if this is unpopular or not, but seeing as we don't have opinions thread, I think the Korean language looks much better on Pokemon cards than Japanese does. I really like it, in fact. I mean, if you like it, it's probably significantly cheaper. By all means, collect that. If I was going to collect anything other than English, it would be Japanese, not Korean, but more power to you if you want to collect that. Same with like French cards. There's a lot of even French Canadians that don't want the French cards. I can only imagine how hard it would be to collect a modern set in French, just because the secondary market would be so small that in comparison to something like English, that it would make it incredibly difficult to finish anything off. Coop13 says, opinion, people don't believe most of what they post in this thread. They just post things they think will get a reaction. Yeah, probably. And then a reply to that, way too slow, bro. Also to get in Rattle's next video. It worked. I don't know if this was an attempt to get into the video, but you're in there. Lavender Gengar says, I would love to see more old sets reimagined like evolutions, maybe for the remaining two first sets, or maybe jumping into Neo. No. I'd like to see. I really like the celebrations, the promos. So like your Zacian level X and stuff like that. I think those were really cool. And I think a throwback to an old set with different cards or different Pokemon that couldn't be that type of Pokemon are a really cool idea. And I think that was my favorite part of the 25th anniversary products in general. Collector says, here is the unpopular version. Enough reprints, enough cashing in on previous glory, enough Kanto and Johto. Yeah, I'd agree. I think there's a lot of Pokemon that need to be mixed in a lot more. But at the same time, you have a lot of people that are just like Kanto, Johto. Maybe just where they've been included throughout all the years, even with the anime and stuff like that. Don't know. It's hard to say. There needs to be like a healthy mix, but I think there should be maybe a little bit more of a mix of the newer stuff. But typically they're going to try and promote the new stuff, the new Pokemon from the new games. So that all kind of coincides and works together. And then, they're going to have Charizards. We got a Charizard set coming out with 5 Charizards in it, just in case you didn't have enough Charizards in the last few sets. We saw with Battle Styles and with Chilling Reign, everyone is hating on the sets. But I think a large reason why everyone's hating on them or doesn't want them as much as the other ones is because they lack the original Pokemon. The Kanto boys aren't really there as much. They're not the stars. It's the new Pokemon. It's your Urshifus and stuff like that. So it takes a while before people really get an attachment to the new Pokemon, before they have time to get used to them and they stop complaining that they're X or Y inanimate object and not a real Pokemon. And then eventually, as people get to know the characters, get to know the Pokemon, everything else, I think they're more accepted. It's cool to see the new Pokemon anyway on a lot of the cards. Get the spotlight because they've never had any cards. But yeah, I think a lot of the in-between stuff need to maybe get a nice mix in. But we'll probably see a little bit of that now with the Diamond and Pearl remakes, where hopefully there'll be a lot of those Diamond and Pearl era Pokemon that get featured that weren't as much. I'm still waiting for my Mawile V and or VMAX and or V-Star. So anytime now, Pokemon Company, just make sure that it's extremely playable so I can make a deck. Would love nothing more. Niche says, centering is the most important subgrade. Disagree. I would rather have something that is not centered, but is not scratched up and down. Maybe that's just me. And even then, to the point where the centering is going to bother me, there's probably somebody that wants it off-centered like that. And at that point, I would either just find another copy, or given the opportunity, I would just trade the off-center one for one that's centered more appropriately. I don't know. If it's off-center a little bit, it doesn't bother me. I know Blasty traded me his Hyper Chew, and he was concerned that it was off-center, but I don't care. I still love it. Still in the binder. That's it. He doesn't know that the Pikachu is not scratched up and down all over. He is in good shape. He's just a little off-center. Shadowless Abra. I think Shadowless cards are vastly undervalued in the current market. The magnitude of the price gap between Shadowless and First Edition is not completely justifiable to me. A PSA 9 Shadowless Ninetales sold for just $250 2 nights ago. That's crazy considering these cards were effectively printed at the same time as First Edition. As a trollish thought experiment, one could argue that all First Edition were Shadowless before they received their stamp. That's true. Not that many people even understand Shadowless, let alone the difference between First Edition Shadowless, Unlimited, and 4th print. So it ends up in this like weird area where there is a premium on it, but is the casual collector going to buy the Unlimited version that they probably grew up with and they don't really care? They just want the artwork. They want the original one. They want the original Charizard or whatever. Do they care if it's got a shadow or not? Probably not. They're casual, which is fine. And if they want an affordable option, that's what they're going to go with. They're going to go with the Unlimited one, not the Shadowless one. There isn't that much Shadowless either, which should be kind of a reason why it's more expensive. at least than the unlimited version. But essentially it's leftovers. People don't know about it. Same as fourth print. It doesn't matter how rare it is. People aren't going to seek it out as much as they either want the best or the affordable version. And this is kind of in between that. We're sort of niche for that reason. So not much you can do about it other than appreciate the fact that if you really like Shadowless, you can get some good deals on it. If you're reselling, sorry about your luck, but it's never going to be first edition. And it's never going to be as affordable as the unlimited version. Pentagon says, I am actually more excited for the Skies part of Evolving Skies than the Evolving bit. I was too, except I didn't pull either of these cards that are probably two of the best cards in the set. I love the Ray here with the Zinnia. Look at this little boy. We got Sleepy Dragonite. I love Pokemon with other Pokemon slopped all over them. It's the best. One of my favorite parts about the alternate arts is the fact that you get so many more Pokemon, characters, everything per card. It's just all around good. It's a win. All around win. Azul says, alt arts should be the new norm. Well, they are in terms of top rarity, if that's what you mean. Should they retire hyper rares? Yes, but I feel like a broken record because I say that every time. Thurko says, the legendary treasures gold secret rares are awesome, unique, and underappreciated. Not super sure if unpopular, but everyone I've spoke to hates them. I don't hate them. And it was weird. I was just talking about this in the Rattle Pokemon and Blasty Discord. If you haven't joined, down in the description. But I don't know. I like them. It's really, really weird how they're hard to photograph. Like every picture you see of them is terrible. But if you see them in real life, they're awesome. It's just like certain angles, certain lighting does not do them justice. Since then, the other gold cards that we've seen, even like the Solgaleo and Lunala, I don't know. They look way better on camera. What they changed, maybe the texture or something. They photograph better. But I think maybe the Legendary Treasures ones, they just need like a professional photographer in order to really make them shine. AJ84 says, I don't care for Shadowless, just give me first edition or variations such as no jungle symbol or fourth print. Fourth print is the most ridiculous of all. So as someone myself, I'm not that crazy about errors, especially if they're one-offs. But if the company makes a mistake and they make a change, that's the kind of thing that I like. That variant or error, whatever you want to call it, is pretty awesome to me. So like Shadowless, for example, no jungle or no symbol jungle. Pretty awesome. Glad that I have the whole set of them. Kind of cool to have those in the binder as well as the regular versions. Fourth print is super obscure, but I still like it. It's still part of the history. They changed the date on the bottom. Card is different enough version for me to justify going after them. 90s Mayo. I don't know. 90s Mayo. It sounds like it'd be a little spoiled by this point. Not sure if it's unpopular, but I think Celebrations will be the set release that crashes the Pokemon hype train, unless they can keep coming out with sets that have high appeal cards like in Vivid Voltage and EV Heroes. I don't think the hype is going to last much longer after that. If you have a hard time believing that, I'd say just look at Battle Styles and Chilling Reign and how easy they were to get packs of compared to the others. So I guess we just talked about the Battle Styles Chilling Reign thing. A lot of this is just people want to have it on day one. If the Pokemon Company can't have enough on day one, people are going to scalp it. People are going to resell it. People are going to lose their minds. Just wait. There's going to be more. It's going to be fine. There was lots of Celebrations. There was lots of those sets. Vivid Voltage shot up in price, but it just took them a while before they could print more and put it on the shelves, and now it is right back to where it started. So, patience is key. Fourth star says Pokemon set card era ranking best to worst, and he starts off with EX series. That should be a pretty good indicator that everyone should buy EX series. He likes to say don't buy it, but he's clearly stating here that it is the best investment you could possibly make. Don't let them forget that. Odds says they should just discontinue hollows in modern sets or reamp them. So if they just straight up got rid of hollows and it was just non-hollows in their place, you're looking at 1 in 6 packs to get something better than a non-hollow. There'd be some pretty salty people. You'd have ETBs. You know how many ETBs where you wouldn't have anything other than non-hollows? So I think they still serve their place. There's been a weird amount, or like, seems like not a good amount of like hollows to non-hollows to V ratio in some of these modern sets, where even some of the hollows are just really hard to get. Because if there's a lot of hollows in the set and you're not getting that many hollows per box, it gets difficult. So I don't know. I think hollows, I mean, even some of the hollows were harder to get than certain Vs or GXs or whatever. So I think they serve a purpose. I think it's a little bit of a feel good. I like to see regular hollows and then the higher rarity stuff as well. Maybe that's just me, but I mean, if you're gonna get a V in every 3 packs, kind of defeats the purpose or the chase on them. They're already pretty easy to get and pretty inexpensive. Then you just end up with too many of the other stuff. So we got one of those. Make stuff easier to pull posts, at least in a way. If you're gonna bring everything down a rarity tier, then you're gonna make sets easy to complete versus other people are complaining that stuff isn't expensive and retaining value. None of it's going to retain value in the short term, which is why usually a generation or two after a card comes out is when it's cheapest. People are moved on to the newest cool shiny thing and don't really care about that stuff, even though you end up finding stuff that's chase cards that are less than the price of a pack. Don't ask me how that can happen, but it happens seemingly every time. Buck here says that Dark Explorers was the pinnacle of full art Pokemon cards. They aren't anywhere near as good now. I like black and white full arts, but you got to remember that also at this point in time, your full arts, well, I guess other than the shiny boys down on the bottom here, your full arts were their chase cards. So if you're comparing these to alternate arts, do they really stand up? No. But if you're comparing them to current day full arts, yeah, I would say that they're a bit nicer. But pretty well the same idea. But they're no longer the top echelon, the top tier mega pulls. All right, last but not least, we have Nani's Mayo again, who says Marnie is another Flavor of the Month character people will forget about by next gen. I disagree. Lily would like a word with you. Her 397 would like a word with both you and PFM. Never buy Lily 397. All right, guys. Have a good one. Join the Discord. See you later.